Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Joining us right now from Washington, D.C. is Georgia Congressman Paul Broun. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee, also a member of the House Doctors Caucus. Congressman Broun, it's great to talk to you again.
John, it's great to be back with you. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure to have you here. Let's start off with this vote coming this week. The House is expected to pass a plan to delay the individual mandate, which requires people to buy in health insurance under Obamacare. This move comes on the heels of a White House announcement which delays the employer mandate, a requirement for businesses with 50 or more workers to provide coverage. Congressman, there are a lot of issues already with the implementation of the law, and more delays are expected. So why vote on this? Why not just wait for the White House to delay this provision as well?
Well, our leadership has decided to put into law the delay for the employers, and they also want to bring forth a bill to delay the implementation for the individual mandate also. I'd like to see us repeal Obamacare. My Patient Option Act would repeal Obamacare and put in place policy that's market-based, it's patient-centered, and it would actually lower the cost, make health care cheaper for everybody. It would provide coverage for all Americans and would save Medicare from going broke. FreedomWorks endorsed it in the last Congress, and I am probably reintroducing my Patient Option Act this week. But I've been pressing our leadership here in Washington to have a vote at least once a month to totally repeal Obamacare or to repeal parts of it. And in fact, the thing is, everybody should be treated equal under the law, and the way the president made his proclamation that he was not going to enforce what's on the books now about the employer mandate is wrong. I think if we're going to delay it, we ought to delay it for everybody.
Well, you said this is a move prompted by the leadership to vote on this. You mentioned also that you have a bill you're going to reintroduce,
Right,
which is an alternative to Obamacare. Would you say, though, I mean, the House has voted to repeal Obamacare more than 30 times, but would you say without a real alternative to what is the law of the land right now, any vote on things like delaying the individual mandate are really just, for lack of a better term, a waste of time?
Well, I don't think they're a waste of time, John. What we need to do, though, is repeal the whole law because it's a destroyer. It's going to destroy the quality of health care in America. It's destroying the doctor-patient relationship. It's going to destroy budgets from family budgets all the way up to the federal budget. It's going to be the biggest spending issue of the federal government eventually if we don't get rid of Obamacare. We must pull it out by the roots and replace it with something that makes sense, something that will make sure that patients make decisions along with their doctors. And Obamacare is not going to do that. We need to replace it with something that is going to lower the cost of health care, where Obamacare is already running up the cost of insurance premiums for everybody. I talked to one of my small business, a family business man just recently, and his policy has gone up 40% this year versus last year just because of Obamacare, and it's been estimated that some people are going to pay 400% more for their health insurance if we don't rip it out by the root and change it. It's all caused by Obamacare, and my Patient Option Act is that solution. It's the only solution that gets the federal government out of from the middle between doctors and patients. It's the only health insurance plan that's going to literally lower the cost and put patients in charge. It's market-based. It's called the Patient Option Act. In the last Congress,
And Congressman, why isn't the leadership proposing this as an alternative? Why aren't we hearing more about a real deal alternative that the entire Republican Party in the House can get behind and put that out there to the American people and say, hey, tell us what you guys want. You want Obamacare, which seems to have a lot of problems, or do you want an alternative that's also going to lower the cost of health insurance for everybody? Why isn't the House leadership putting that out there?
Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask them that, John. In fact, what the leadership did not do as we were facing Obamacare, and subsequently, they've not really looked to the physicians. I'm a family doctor, as you know, and I've been dealing with healthcare cost issues for my patients. That's what family doctors do, as opposed to any other medical specialty. We deal with the financial aspects of healthcare. So it looks to me like leadership, as well as on both sides of the aisle, would have looked to doctors for suggestions, but they have not. And I developed my Patient Option Act in the last Congress. FreedomWorks endorsed it. It's the only plan out there that's going to get the government out of making healthcare decisions, and it's what I'm encouraging people all across this country to contact their senators, their congressmen, and say, we need Dr. Brown's Patient Option Act to be the law of the land. And that's the reason I'm eager to come and through your program is to encourage our viewers to contact their senator, contact their congressman and say, let's pull Obamacare out by the roots and put in place a plan that makes sense. And the Patient Option Act that Congressman Paul Broun is that solution that we want. So I encourage
Congressman, you've told us a lot about your plan, but Obamacare is still the law of the land, so to speak, for the time being. The individual mandate is, of course, supposed to be this incentive for buying coverage. Either you sign up or you get fined, and those fines are supposed to be less, at least at this point, less than most health care premiums, leaving many people to say, well, I'll just pay the fine. It's still the more affordable option. So whether there is an individual mandate or not, would you say there is still not real incentive for people to sign up for this program?
Well, you're exactly correct. In fact, I've talked to employers that say that because of Obamacare, they're going to lay off employees. They're going to reduce hours of full-time employees down to part-time, and we already see that happening all across the country. So their incentives in Obamacare, just from a business perspective, just from an economic perspective, for people to not buy insurance and to pay the fine. We're going to have I think we're going to have more people uninsured if Obamacare is fully implemented than we have today. Certainly, there are incentives to take people out of an employer-provided health insurance type of situation into one where they go into the federal exchange, where you're going to have federal bureaucrats making all health care decisions for those people. And it is raising the cost of health insurance for everybody. Obamacare must be ripped out by the roots and replaced with something like my Patient Option Act.
And so you're predicting, Congressman, that after the full implementation, after 2014 and beyond, you think we'll have fewer people with health insurance than without? Well, I think we'll certainly going to have less people that are going to be on health insurance provided by their employer. We're going to have a lot of people who cannot afford to get into federal exchanges in spite of the fines or taxes, whatever you want to call them, that's going to be placed upon them. I think it's going to cause a tremendous upheaval within the American population all across this land. And that's the reason I believe that Barack Obama has delayed the implementation, is because he knew that there would be a lot of pushback towards him and Democrats in this next year's election. And that's the reason that I think he's pushed it off till January of 15, so that the Democrats don't suffer electorally in this next year's election, because Obamacare is a destroyer, and I think it would destroy the chances of the Democrats to be reelected if it stayed in place. Now, there are a lot of theories out there about what the real motivation is behind this delay. Let's move on. Let's leave Obamacare there for right now. And let's talk about Janet Napolitano and the Department of Homeland Security, since you do serve on the Homeland Security Committee in Congress. She has announced that she's stepping down. Can the president win over more congressional conservatives on the issue of immigration reform if he chooses the right nominee to succeed Napolitano?
I don't think whoever he picks is going to help conservatives vote for amnesty, and that's what he's promoting. And I will not vote for amnesty for anybody. We've got big problems across the board with legal immigration, as well as 11 million plus illegal aliens here in this country. They're not immigrants, they're illegal aliens, they're law breakers, and we've got to find some solutions that make sense. But John, until we secure the border and actually have it secured, nothing else matters. And we've got to start enforcing the laws. We've had 4 presidents, 2 Republicans and now 2 Democrats, that have not wanted to actually refuse to secure the border, and have refused to enforce the laws that are on the books. The only new law I'd like to see passed is one to make English the official language of America. But beyond that, we must secure the border. Till we do that, nothing else matters. And then we've got to start dealing with these problems that we have. with legal immigration. It's broken. It's very difficult for people to come here legally. We have people who do come here legally and are overstaying their visas. We've got to deal with that issue. We've got issues where people come here to study and we educate them and then we force them to go back home. We've got to deal with that. We've got big problems with the agricultural workers in my state, in my district, that are having a hard time finding laborers, and we've got to find some solutions for that too. So we've got a lot of problems, but until we secure the border, nothing else matters. We must secure the border and start enforcing the laws, make English the official language of America, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I know you were running for Senate as well.
Right.
Based on that last answer, I'm sure you didn't support the Senate immigration bill. You are, of course, running to replace retiring Saxby Chambliss. What's your take on the debate over the rules over there going on in the Senate over presidential appointments?
Well, I don't know. I'm not part of the discussion. Just last night, the Senate met in the old Senate chambers. I wonder why Harry Reid took them over there to do that, but it was a closed-door hearing that they had where they discussed things. Frankly, I have seen nominee after nominee that this president has brought forward. I would vote no. I would have voted no for Chuck Hagel. I would have voted no, I guess not for, but I would have voted no against Chuck Hagel and John Brennan and John Kerry, all three. This president is bringing nominees that are absolutely disastrous, that are going to destroy actually destroy the rule of law here in this country, and some of the judicial nominees, in my opinion, that he's bringing forward. We've got to stop this judicial activism, whether it's conservative or liberal judicial activism. And I believe in the Constitution as the Founding Fathers meant it. I believe in very limited government, and I will not vote for a bill unless it meets the original intent of our Founding Fathers. We've got both parties spending money that we don't have. We've got both parties growing the size and scope of government, and it just has to stop. And that's what I've been doing here in the U.S. House, and that's what I'll do in the U.S. Senate also, is to try to get this government back into control, to live within our means, to put this country back on a solid fiscal course. And we cannot continue down the road we're on right now if that's doesn't change. So we've got
this Republican primary in the state of Georgia is already shaping up to be one of the most closely watched and crowded contests of 2014. You're running against two of your House colleagues, right, Phil Gingrey and Jack Kingston, also both from Georgia, of course. And are y'all keeping tabs on one another when it comes to voting on specific items that may be used during this primary campaign?
Well, there have been a series of articles up here in some of the Hill newspapers about how they're following my vote. Georgia's going to elect a Republican, and Georgia will elect the most conservative Republican, and that's me. And we see my House colleagues are beginning to look at my votes and vote the way I do. So maybe at least their votes are getting a little bit more conservative and a whole lot better. But it's been just really humorous to me to see all these candidates. They say that they support what I've been doing. A balanced budget amendment, I've got the strongest one in the Congress. Repeal Obamacare. My Patient Option Act would repeal Obamacare. Cut spending. I've introduced more pieces of legislation to cut spending, I think, than any other member of Congress. They're even talking about the Constitution. Well, they don't understand the original intent of the Constitution like I do, and I've been voting according to the original intent. Those enumerated powers that we're given here in Congress, it's just 18 in Article 1, Section 8. Now, if it's not within those enumerated powers, I won't vote for it. So,
right. Well, according to some of the most recent fundraising reports, they show that you trail both Kingston and Gingrey in fundraising. There's almost exactly 1 year to go to the date until the primary. How do you plan on differentiating yourself from the competition and making up that fundraising gap?
Well, we've got an army of volunteers all across the state. We are organized in way over 2/3 of the counties in the state of Georgia. I've got an army of people to help me get my message out. And we're raising money, and we will raise enough to get my message out, and we will win this race. There are many ways that we're different. I'm a veteran, and I'm the only veteran in this race. I'm the only one who truly has put on a uniform and fought for liberty I'm a veteran from Afghanistan. I was deployed to Afghanistan last year, and no one else has ever served in the U.S. military, and that's important in Georgia. I'm the chairman of the Second Amendment Task Force in the U.S. House. Gun Owners of America and the National Association of Gun Rights have endorsed my campaign. We're all rated A, but I'm been in the trenches fighting to stop spending, fighting for Second Amendment rights, fighting to put this country back on the right course. Every other candidate in this race talks about what they will support. I've got the legislation and I've got the record. People can know where I'm going by looking at where I've been. I've been in the trenches fighting this out of control spending that both parties have been doing, and my colleagues here have been part of that. I've never requested an earmark. In fact, I was part of the leadership that forced our overall leadership to stop the earmarking process. I've been fighting this out of control spending. So I've got the record, a track record, a solid one for 6 years now, being in the Congress, of trying to stop this out of control government. And all these scandals we see are just a reflection of a government that's out of control. It must stop. We've got to go back to constitutionally limited government, as our founding fathers meant it. And that's what Georgians want.
Well, there are certainly going to be a lot of folks watching this primary race very closely. Looks like we'll have a new senator from Georgia with Saxby-Chambliss retiring, so the race is on for that seat. Absolutely. Representative Paul Broun of Georgia.
That's
Thanks
right,
so much
John.
for being with us. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you, John. And people can go on my website. It's paulbroun.com, P-A-U-L, but it's B-R-O-U-N, paulbroun.com, and they can check me out. They can help me out.
All right. Thanks a lot for that. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you, John. God bless you.